Hey guys, what's up? It's Matt with 86, and today I'm taking a look at upHere's fans, and this is 2021, so it's been about 2 years since I looked at their first edition of these fans, and we're going to go over what's different and what's the same about them. Surprisingly, a lot is the same about them, but there's some mild changes that they've made to make them better and just more all-around great. Now, this fan pack is a 5-pack of fans, which is great for most people. Sometimes we need 6 fans, so you might want to decide, do you need to buy 2 packs of 3, or will the 5-pack suffice for you? And that greatly depends on if you go 3 in the front, 2 on top, and 1 in the back for 6 fans. Now, some of the key things I noticed right away are things that people have already kind of told me about. They are now SATA powered, which is true. Great, awesome. SATA power is awesome. upHere listened to the people and changed it to SATA power. So much easier to use, especially if you use a modular power supply and don't want to have to use Molex. It also now has English instructions on the reverse side. But upHere made sure that you're still adding your own anti-vibration pads to the fans. They're not going to do that for you. That's your job. So after you meticulously set time aside to add all your anti-vibration pads to it, because I'm not sure who would want not to have those, but it's an option to not have them, I suppose. If you don't want them on there, stick them on there, just do it. They're also not PWM, so there's no header attachment or adjustable thing to make them PWM or talk to the motherboard so that pulse width modulation can take effect in the fans. They are static speed. Good to see that they're nice and similar to the past. They also still suffer from a little bit of hot spotting, and while not a major thing, it's something I assumed they would have addressed, but they did not. There is no motherboard built-in integration for the hub either, so it is what's built into it automatically, which I think they list as 366 different features you can go through. Now, the problem with that is a lot of those features are just recolors of one feature. So let's say that if they wanted to count static as a feature and there's 6 static colors, they count that towards 6 different features. It does list 10 speeds for your LEDs. However, when I count it, I only count 6. One of the major problems I had is on the remote we have a brightness control button. It's even listed on the instructions, but in no way does it work to control the brightness on my fans. It could just be a defect that I have received on these fans, but it's something worth noting that my brightness control does not change the brightness from low to high. It seems to be as bright as it is out of the box. So in the past, a lot of people have asked, are these okay to put on a radiator? And that really depends on you knowing, and I've mentioned this in other videos, you knowing what your hardware is and what your hardware's heat is to know if these case fans are going to be good enough for you to use on a radiator. And also having that foresight and knowledge to know that you can maintain that heat or control that heat with these fans. If you're not comfortable with that, some PWM fans are always what's recommended for a radiator, especially if you're doing something like a GPU. Now, I have used case fans on radiators before, but I'm also aware of what my hardware is and how my hardware performs, and I know what I'm looking at as far as temperature goes. If something doesn't work, I take it out. I just wanted to get that question out of the way because I know it's one that people tend to ask on fan videos. Can these case fans work on a radiator? Well, that greatly depends on what your hardware is and what your heat levels are to know if these fans will be adequately able to cool it, especially because radiators come in different sizes, anything from small 120s to 240s, 360s, 280s. So it really depends. Again, that's a loaded question and hard one to answer without knowing your specific hardware. These fans are as good looking back then as they are now. And whether that's a good or bad thing, I'm not really sure. They are very similar to the exact ones I had purchased. Can feature up to 10 fans. They're still not PWM. There's no additional plugs for motherboard synchronization or control with your UI suites on your motherboard, so they are what's in the hub is what you get. What you use the remote to change to, that's what you get. And their bottom line, just pretty basic, pretty decent all-around fans. Just like they were 2 years ago, they still are today with some minor upgrades to things like SATA power over Molex. It's definitely one of the biggest things. If you're looking for just some all-around case fans that offer a decent amount of light and look pretty good, I think these are great. I'm really hoping that my remote that's not able to change the brightness is just a defective remote. I'd also like to point out that upHere doesn't even include a way to stick it with Velcro tape or with 3M stick or anything to stick your hub in there. So if you don't have a way to stick your hub into the tower so that it's not loosely floating around in there, you may want to look into something like that as well. That way you can adhere it or stick it to the tower somewhere inside out of sight, and it's not just bouncing around. So ultimately, just a retouch on fans I looked at 2 years ago, some minor changes that are big minor changes, but could probably still improve a little bit. These fans do get a moderate recommendation from me if you're just looking for some case fans with RGBs on them that feature a lot of functions. We're going to end the video here with going through some of those functions, and you can see what they're capable of doing, which is very similar to what they were capable of doing 2 years ago. Hopefully upHere still has some room to grow and they're willing to grow. I'll see you guys in the next video that I do. You guys have a great day, night, whatever it is.